Well, we now know that officially 2022 represented the end of the Tom Brady experience in Tampa Bay and also represented the end of the TB12 era of the NFL. 23 seasons. I mean, that's crazy to think about. That as we go into 2023, it's going to be the first season since I was 18 years old that Tom Brady isn't on an NFL roster to start the season. That's crazy to me. And, now you look at the Buccaneers and you say, hey, that shit worked out, right? 3 playoff appearances, couple of division titles, Super Bowl championship. Ask any other team, any other organization, would you have done that move 100 out of 100 times? You absolutely fucking would have. It paid off beautifully for them. But now you look at what's next. What's the bigger picture here? What's the immediate, intermediate, long-term future of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And it feels like at the moment, they're determined to largely run it back under head coach Todd Bowles. And part of that is bringing in Baker Mayfield. And you're going to have apparently a quarterback competition between Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. And I've got to assume that that's got the Buccaneers fan base launching their cannons. Oh, God. But I was wondering, heading into this draft, could there be a possibility that they might dip into quarterback some point in the first 2 days? Maybe this is one of these teams that looks at it and says, hey, we want to get that long-term answer at the position. Maybe they don't. Maybe they think Baker Mayfield somehow could be that guy. Maybe they think Kyle Trask can be that guy somehow for some crazy reason. So they apparently weren't entertaining it, and they weren't really thinking about it, especially when you look at the way this draft played out. When you look at Tampa at pick 19, the pick of Calijah Cancey may have surprised some, may have not. This felt like about the right range for Cancey to go. I thought he was one of the better picks on day one. His tape was more of that of a top 10 to 15 pick in this draft. I promise you, if his arms were longer, he would have been taken before Jalen Carter, period. Full stop. If you think that's not true, you're crazy. Because Cancey's tape was just better. Now, I understand he's a shorter arm defensive tackle from Pittsburgh that has violent hand usage, great quickness, can get into the backfield a lot. And I understand there were a lot of comparisons to Aaron Donald, but that's crazy. And I even went back, as I watched and scouted Calijah Cancey for the draft, I even went back and I said, let me see if I'm just wanting to see something, or let me see if the Aaron Donald comparison is truly appropriate. And I went back and looked and I said, nah, he reminds me more of Geno Atkins. Aaron Donald was different. But Cancey was worth the pick at that spot. I think he could play alongside Vita Vea and be able to fire up the field. I really, really liked this pick for them. I gave him a grade of a B because I thought it was really good value at that point. Here's a guy, one of the cleanest prospects in this year's draft in terms of his tape. They got a good one, I feel. In the second round, they only had to give up a sixth round pick to move up 2 spots to get Cody Mauch. And at that point in time, a 6th round pick to move up 2 spots. Make sure you get your damn dude. I think he likely finds his NFL home at guard. And I think he could be a really damn good one, too. If you're asking me, to stack rank him and Peter Skoronski, I'm sure a lot of people would have Skoronski somewhere in the top 10 to 15 or top 10 to 20 talents in this draft, and Mauch probably somewhere in the 30 to 50 range. And I thought they were basically neck and neck, realistically. I really did not see that much difference. Yet the Titans took Skoronski at pick 11. The Bucs were able to take Cody Mauch at pick 48. Yaya Diaby in round 3 is a solid take here. Big-time athlete, young edge rusher with big upside to me. You could maybe argue more pure upside than his college teammate, Yasir Abdullah. So I like what they did here. And, when I look at day 1, I gave him a B. Day 2, I gave him a grade of B- because they were above average here. They had no 4th-round pick this year due to trading it last year for 5th and 7th-round picks in the 2022 draft. I don't like when teams do this shit. Stop trading those future picks like that. You gave up a 4th this year for 2 day 3 picks last year. That's kind of dumb. Sirvocea, Dennis, I think at least can make an impact on special teams. It'd be really interesting to see how they envision his fit at the NFL level. They gave up a seventh rounder to move up 4 spots to draft a tight end from Purdue, Payne, Durham. I think Josh Hayes kind of feels like a practice squad guy to me. The pick of Trey Palmer in round 6, it's worth a gamble on that speed. I don't like that in order to get there, you gave up a 5th round pick next year. You can't keep doing that. Stop punting this down the road. I don't know why. Like, you just did it last year. You're doing it again this year. At some point in time, those chickens come home to roost. See Ryan Pace. I do think Jose Ramirez, who was their last pick in this year's draft, could be a guy that could make the roster as a rotational, like, depth edge rusher. Overall, I look at him and give him like a C grade for day 3 because the one thing I really don't like is the trading up of higher round picks in future drafts. I just don't like that approach. I do not. You could clearly tell that they've placed a priority on the trenches, the offensive and defensive fronts on the first 2 days, as they should have. You can make that argument for a lot of teams, right? It tends to be a safer way to go in terms of draft strategy early, especially in the offensive line. You want to add strength to what you feel is maybe a strength and get some more youth on your defense. They certainly did that with Cancey and Diaby. Like I said, I keep coming back to I'm not a fan of giving up future higher picks for current day 3 picks. I just feel like that's a bad recipe. But then I look at like what they did with Cody Mauch, and I said they gave up a 6th round pick to move up 2 slots, and they took a guy at 48 that I had very similar in grading to a guy that was taken by the Titans at pick 11. Do you really think that Skoronski was 37 picks better in terms of a player than Mauch? I certainly don't. If you look at this Bucs draft, if Kancey comes in and is like an 8-sack, 9-sack kind of interior lineman that could just disrupt the backfield, disrupt the timing of the running game, disrupt the quarterback of the passing game. If Diaby could come in and be a guy that ends up being, a rotational guy, but could come in and add some pass rush, and by his second year he's giving you like 7 or 8 sacks. Mauch's your long-term starter at one of the guard positions. This isn't such a bad draft. Again, I come back to, the Buccaneers feel like they're kind of doubling down on their current reality, and it's like, how much is that really going to make sense? But the NFC South stinks so much, they might very well win the division with either Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask starting for them next year. But I think this was a good spot for Cancey to land, and I'm excited to see what he will do in Tampa Bay. Certainly some Bucs fans are hoping that he could be Warren Sapp 2.0, and shit, if he's anything close to that, then they hit a home run with this one.